Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Whatever on Wednesday. I'm Jo Tierney, and I am here with my special guest, St. Rappaport, and she's a productivity coach, and she's going to teach us a new way to really assess really what are we going to assess our limiting beliefs, the obstacles that hold us back, and how we can elevate our lives with some increased productivity. So why don't you take a minute and introduce yourself, ST, and I'm gonna share this so that people will know we're live while you're doing that.
Sure. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. We're going to be doing something totally new and different that I've never done before, but it's going to be fun. St. Rappaport, a productivity coach and the founder of Life Peaks University. We don't just teach you productivity tips and give you like schedules and hacks, like how to make your life more productive. We get really to the core of how your brain is working, how your brain is wired, and rewire it so that way everything else in your life runs more efficiently and effectively. So in productivity, in your relationships, in your health, everything's going to change because you're going to see things in a different way.
Oh my gosh. So by the end of the hour, I'm going to be a totally different person. So be prepared, viewers.
No, it doesn't take that fast,
Go.
but you'll be headed in the right direction.
All right, perfect. All right, so tell me what we're gonna do. Should we do the exercise or should we do a little bit of Q&A? Should we talk about, well, why don't you talk about what we're gonna do and what productivity coaching is, and let's start with that.
Yes. So I want to focus, I think, first on the concept called cognitive functions. When I tell you to think about something, or if you say, I'm thinking, what are you actually doing? Thinking could be split up into 28 different parts, 28 different actions that are called cognitive functions. Now, we use different ones of these to do different actions, but they're constantly running throughout our lives without us even realizing what they are. I'll give you an example. One of them is called systematic search, like looking for things. So that could be reading a paper, it could be looking for something in your house, it could be anytime you're looking for anything, you're doing systematic search. Now, everyone has some weaker ones and some stronger ones. The thing is that if you have weaker ones, they're affecting all the other areas of your life without you even realizing. It's like someone who's scratching their head backwards from the other side because they're working so hard to do something and they just can't do it because their brain is wired the wrong way. So going back to systematic search, this person is not looking at things in an organized manner. They're just looking everywhere. If you ever try to look for something and you're looking all over the place for it and you're just getting really frustrating, you probably have blurred perception, the opposite of this, of the systematic search. You just look for it in whatever way you want, and your brain is wasting a lot of time doing that, and it takes a lot of energy, and it's probably really frustrating for you, right? So you want to wire your brain in a way where it looks for things in an organized manner. It starts at one point and goes through until it finds something else. Now you're thinking, that's crazy. That's going to take way more time. And why should I do that? Because your brain is wired a different way. But if you try this way, if you train your brain to practice this way, then you'll see that it's actually more efficient and effective. So
let me just paraphrase and kind of break it down and make it a little bit simpler for well, because we have a viewer who's saying you're very smart, so he appreciates that. That's our friend Justin. But it's really, to me, and I'm paraphrasing and simplifying it, but it's really finding a mechanism to work smarter, not harder, and in a more efficient way.
Exactly. Smarter, not harder is exactly what it is. Now, you don't have to get overwhelmed by saying there are 28 things. I don't know what these 28 things are, and I'm not going to be able to figure them out, because you don't have to know what these 28 things are. I could tell them to you, but you don't have to know them in order to rewire your brain. What you need is the strategies to be able to go and figure that out. Now, how are you going to learn the strategies? Which ones do you need? That's that paper that you held up in the beginning. That is the paper that while you work on that paper, I don't know how much people could see it, but it's a paper that has a whole bunch of dots and shapes. And we're going to do this paper. And by doing this paper, we could watch how someone's brain is working. So like, let's say if I were to give this paper to you and you were to start from the bottom of the paper, a random frame in middle of it, then I would know right away you have blurred perception. You're not looking at things in an organized manner, right? So while you're working, I could see what your cognitive deficiencies are, which one of those 28 things aren't working so well. And then we could discuss strategies to rewire your brain. Does that make sense?
All right, perfect. I'm all for rewiring. I do have some loose connections in there, I'm sure.
All do. Even I do. I like do these on myself or like find other ways to go and constantly rewiring your brain because you can always go and make it stronger.
All right, perfect. All right, so what should we do next?
Are you ready? Do you think we should start trying it?
Sure. All right, so let me position my camera so everybody can see it. Everybody's gonna know. Oh, I don't know how to do that.
Okay, before you start, while you're preparing yourself, I'm going to give everyone a disclaimer. Yeah, that's perfect. I could see your paper.
Okay, great.
Wait, hold on. Something's really bouncy there.
Maybe I have to.
Could you move your laptop a little bit back so that way your paper could be in front?
In front of me? How's that? Well, that's right. Okay, let me move my keyboard.
Okay, the thing is, I can't really see your paper.
Okay, so I'm gonna move the camera. I'm just getting it.
Okay.
Oh. Okay. How should I get that? Figure how's that?
Perfect. Just move your paper a tiny bit closer towards you for the top so I can see the top of the paper. Yeah, and then as you get to the bottom, you'll move it. I don't know how much of it.
Can I move it as I go?
Yeah, so I just
okay.
Yeah, the top I see is perfect. It's great. You could describe it maybe first to everyone's listening. What do you see there?
So I see some shapes, 2 triangles and a square, and then a bunch of different sets of random dots.
Yes, exactly. Okay, now just a disclaimer for everyone. I'm doing something really different. Usually what we do is we have a whole discussion beforehand because we already learned some strategies, you already know, and then we see how we plan how we're going to do this paper. And then we discuss it again afterwards and we see what was challenging and to go from there. But I want to start a middle. Okay, it's page 2, which is really a few pages in because there's like 1A, 1B. It's like quite a few pages in. It's a little bit harder, but we get way harder than this. And I'm going to just be quiet and let's see you figure it out. What you're going to have to do is find these exact shapes, the square and the 2 triangles. Exactly. They have to be the exact same size, the exact same thing in the frames. The only thing that's going to be different is the direction. And yes, they can be overlapping.
Oh boy.
Okay.
In every single square.
In every single square, and make sure that your paper doesn't move. That's the only rule, okay? Like your paper, you can move your paper, but it has to be straight in front of you.
Okay, but right. So then, but I can move it up when.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. So I already know I screwed that up.
Can't talk like that. If you need to erase, let's see, like take your time with it. The one thing that we didn't say is like on the very first, on the cover of this thing, our first discussion is the concept of just like stopping and thinking. And it's okay to take your time. So go ahead and take as much time as you need.
Okay. Do I have to finish one box before I go to the next?
Yes. But I'm going to ask a question. This is what we do. We call mediation. I never give you answers. I ask you the questions to help you figure it out. So what's the problem here in this frame? Why are you stuck? There are 3 more dots. So what's the problem?
Well, I'm looking at, trying to find the direction of the third triangle. And the depth perception of it. Because they have to be the same size, correct?
Yes.
I don't know, I guess. But if you look at it from different angles, is it the same size? I mean, is that correct? No. So that's not correct, right?
What do you think?
Here it is. Okay. All right. I'm starting to sweat here.
No worries.
All right. Let me erase that one.
Let me see something. Just a tiny bit. Yeah. Okay. You're good.
Okay. All right. So move on to the next one.
If you're ready.
Let's see. I don't think that one's right. I'm not sure it is. That doesn't seem like the right size.
Which shape are you talking about?
I'm on the third triangle again. Yeah, the triangles are iffy. I mean,
Is your first triangle the right size?
This one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My lighting's not great either. I don't know. It looks a little smaller. They both look too small.
Now remember, I gave this to you with like 0 prep, 0 anything. So it's like an extra.
So Justin is probably thinking, what am I doing here? Okay. All right, would this be it? Oh, I see. So they're within the square. Can they be within the square?
So then where are we going to put our square?
They have to be 3 separate triangles. I mean, 3
Exactly. We
separate
need to use
shapes.
all our dots. There's exactly the same amount of dots. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a question for you. Okay. Here's a challenge question.
Okay.
If you know that a square could be divided into a triangle, they making those 2 triangles, then what shape do you have to do first?
The triangles? Yeah.
Why?
Well, because the square is the easier. The square is the easiest.
So maybe we should do the square first.
I did do the square first, but I'm still struggling with the triangles.
No
If I
problem.
can't-
No, but we're making a plan in our brain. We're really clear that we don't look for the triangles even until we make our squares.
Okay, so I have the
Okay.
square.
Very good.
And then, yeah, I mean, I see many ways to make the triangle, but they
Good.
seem to.
Okay, so let's
they
go
seem-
back to our model. Let's go back to what they gave us with the triangle.
Okay.
Okay, let's analyze our triangles. If you had to describe to me this triangle, what type of triangle do you think it would be? Don't worry, you don't have to remember from math all their names.
So it looks like a 90-degree angle.
Yes, that is going to help you a lot. That 90-degree right angle is going to help you. So you want to see if you could look for 2 dots that could, almost like you're making the square, right? Your 3 dots out of your square is making your triangle.
Right, which I see, but I'm having a difficult time assessing the size, I think. So
you could go back to your model and trace your model so you get it clearer in your brain. Trace the model like one line at a time and then go back to it. Yeah.
okay.
Beautiful job. Very good. Yeah. That was great. Persistence. Amazing.
And then so that.
What do you think?
I think it's as good as, I think it's a go.
Fantastic. Okay, what helped you figure that out?
I think thinking about it as a 90-degree angle. You know, it wasn't because the way that the triangles are turned, it's difficult to assess that.
Good, very good. So you made a point of reference for yourself, as we like to call it.
Okay.
Also, move your paper over like an inch.
To the left?
Yeah, to your left. Yeah, because the name was blocking it. Yeah, perfect. Now we can see what's going on there.
Okay.
Good. So you're following your plan.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
How's that?
What do you think?
All right. Looks good to me.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Could you hold up that frame, that paper, so I could see that frame to the camera? Because it's like a little bit lower, maybe. No, I don't. It's not catching in it.
Not that one. Let me see.
No, okay. You want to just describe to me which dot did you use when you connected the triangles? I can't
This
really
one,
see
you
it. The triangles that are the dots that are inside the square that are part of the triangles.
mean? Mm-hmm.
Which dot is going to which one? The top dot in the square is
Mm-hmm.
going to the top triangle or the bottom triangle?
To the top triangle.
And the bottom dot is going to the bottom triangle?
Yes.
Okay, do you think that's correct? If you look at it, compare again back to your model.
Yeah, so it looks like the top one maybe should go to they both should go to the bottom one.
We only need 3 dots for the triangle.
Okay, I see. All right, so it's the opposite. The top
Yeah.
one should go to the, yeah, okay. Okay,
Fantastic.
all right. Hmm. 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 How's that one?
What do you think?
I think the top's correct. The bottom could be off.
Is your square correct?
Square looks correct. Is it not? All right, if it's not gonna check, go back then. Let me check.
I'm not it's coming very blurry through your thing, so it's a bit difficult for me to see
Let me go back to the
exactly
square.
which dot. These things are like being super precise about each one of them. That
Okay. All right, can you see the square?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that correct or no?
I think so. It looks okay to me.
Okay, all right, so that's where I was on the square.
Good. Fantastic.
Okay. Hmm. No, I can't move my paper.
Yeah, you remember.
I almost
Usually,
did.
like sometimes I tape it down for clients because you just get so into it and you forget.
I don't know about that one. I kind of know, messy. I'm not sure. Yeah. Is that correct?
Looks good to me.
Okay.
Okay, do you want to continue or do you want to stop, ask questions, do Q&A first, then?
So what do you, let me see if we have any questions. I don't know why actually I'm in the full screen. Okay. So Justin is saying this lesson shows people if they have good memory or not. And it looks like college level stuff. It looks hard. You're right, Justin.
Okay,
it
let me
is
just
hard.
say that this is for everyone. Literally, this program was made to be customized for every person. So it helps people, gifted people, people who are really smart in college. It helps people who are Down syndrome, autistic, everywhere in between. Doesn't matter your age. Like, okay, this 9 and up. There's a program for younger than 9, but this one is for 9 and up. Literally, been clients 70. I had them. The clients all different ages, depending what you're doing. So it's not a test. There is no such a thing as a wrong answer as long as you could. I mean, there's one answer on the page, but there's no such a thing as like getting a wrong answer, because we're here to figure it out and just like teach your brain different things. Now, the reason why it's extra super hard for Joe is because we just jumped into this. I literally am here just wanting to show you, give you the things. At the beginning, it's like a little bit easy, and I thought it would be a little bit boring to show you, because like we really build up from simple to higher up. So by the time it comes to this page, it's a little bit easier.
So Justin is asking, he's saying, it's frustrating doing this. I would have given up a long time ago. And I will say, Justin, I was sweating. I was getting stressed. Justin said he's done this in school before, and he's saying, so this helps with your goals. So let's talk about that. How does this help with our goals? And I mean, so what can you tell about me from what I've done so far?
Okay, now I don't want to just like diagnose you or whatever you want to call it just right now, but just a simple thing. I want to say one cognitive deficiency first, and one strategy I think could really help you, and to also go together with goals that we were talking about goals. So one thing I'm sure you've noticed really, like you've seen, the sizing was a really was a bit of a challenge, right? Trying to figure out what the size is. And that could come from the deficiency. Doesn't mean that you're completely incapable. It just means it's a little bit weak. The spatial orientation and things, and how big, how much space something takes up. There, like some people who have this, let's say, crash into things all the time. I have this deficiency a lot. Like I totally like crash into things. Some people with this, like let's say they can't. If let's say they're trying to imagine to set up a room, like let's say they're moving a house, they can't like imagine how much space it's going to take up in their house. Some people with this deficiency don't know their rights and lefts, have a much harder time with it. Or maybe they know their own rights and lefts, but they can't tell someone else's who's sitting in a different direction. So they're different, like it could come up in different ways, but for sure that is something that I've noticed pretty quickly. What do you think? What do you say about that?
So it is true that I have always had a difficult time. Not necessarily. I can decorate a room very well, but I do have trouble with my left and my right. And I actually remember it by holding up my hand, and I know left by the L. So I will say that that's true. I don't know how widespread it is with spatial orientation. I don't crash into things a lot. I will say that I don't do that. But yeah.
Not like me totaled the car from it.
Yeah, so I'm pretty good about that. Not saying that I never crash into anything, but it's pretty rare. Or just walking, I might bump into something around the house, but definitely the left and right thing is true.
Okay, now I'm curious, like, let's say someone else is like me. I'm now like in the opposite direction of you. Is it harder for you even to like tell me which one's my right hand?
I would have to look down and see my hands and then compare it to your side. And
Totally normal, by the way. We have like these booklets. We have like a whole bunch of these different booklets, and they're called instruments. We actually have 2 booklets just for space, because it's such a big one and so many people have it. So totally, like, it's totally fine, and totally like it could be improved. But I think that a really good strategy, something that you use that afterwards could be implemented also to help people working on their goals, is this concept of looking for a model, and then before you just copy your model, analyzing it. Okay, so let's break that down. First of all, what's a model? A model is anything that you can copy to learn from. Sometimes you're copying a model exactly like on this paper. The square has to be exactly the same. And sometimes it's just for you to get an idea, for you to learn from it, right? Like you've seen someone play sport and you want to copy them, right? That is a model for you. Or it could be like you've seen a party in a room set up and you don't want to copy the exact same party and have the whole setup exactly the same, but you are getting ideas from that thing. Or let's say, like, I just had a client today who gave me the example. We were talking about this. I was like, what example? She's like, okay, a clean house. She wants her house to be cleaner. And she goes into someone's house and she's like, okay, I want to copy that model. Now, how is she meant to go and copy this model? It's so hard. Her house is, I don't know, flying. I have never been to her house, but obviously she wants it to be neater. And she walks into someone whose house is really organized. How's she going to do this? So the strategy here is to analyze the model. Instead of just saying her house is so neat, what does this person do to keep her house organized? What's one specific thing she does that afterwards it's super easy for you to copy? So maybe an example, she has like a shoe rack in front, like near her front door. So instead of the shoes flying everywhere, everyone puts it on the shoe rack. So what's she doing? She's analyzing her model, and then she could go and copy it. Just like you said, the right angles, the 90 degrees, and then it was much easier for you to do. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think when you look at it in the world of business, I mean, and even in this arena, entertainment, that we always say to go out and find your competitors and really model their success. So it's very similar in that vein. So what does it say though, and it just in addition to that about is there any more in-depth, does it say anything? What else does it say? I mean, besides just the knocking into things and the spatial disparities, I mean, is it representative of something else too?
Yeah,
Or
so there could be a
something
whole bunch of different things. One of them could be like an inadequacy of being able to really define the actual problem. I don't, like, again, I said, like, I don't want to just like go and say these things. Like, yeah, I would have to like see more for that.
You're
But
not
sometimes
gonna,
like
you're not gonna,
I'm not like
let me
I'm
interject.
throwing suggestions and we all could work
Okay.
on all of them. So like nothing personal here, yeah.
Well,
Like
let me just interject. You're not going to offend me, and you're not so just go all in. You're not going to offend me, and I think that is important for the viewers to really hear what it is that you're assessing. So I am certainly self-aware, and I know my deficiencies, and I think that if you call me out on them, I'm going to agree or not. And I think that yeah, let's
good,
really speak to
challenge
it.
me. Let's see.
Yeah,
Okay, so
let's do it.
what sometimes this cognitive deficiency comes from like not being super clear on what the actual problem is. So a lot of times people with this deficiency will work on a whole bunch of things, and while they're towards the end of it, of like they put all this work and energy into it, and then they're like, actually this doesn't solve the problem, because actually the problem was something else. It wasn't this. So I don't know if that's the right thing.
Oh, it is. No, ouch. It's the right thing. I'm a Jill of all trades. I do a million different things, and yeah, so I'm a great problem solver, but a lot of times I don't get to the finish line.
Which is having to do, like, not exactly that, but another thing I noticed that you were pretty good at, obviously there's like always improvement, but one of the things, the deficiency of this is like blocking, or like just giving up, like Justin was saying, just giving up. That is a deficiency of blocking. You just get like, you're frustrated, you don't know, it's too hard, you just stop because you don't know what to do. You did it really well. Even though you were sweating, you continued and you persisted and you figured it out. So that was great in what you were doing. There was quite a bit of another thing called trial and error responses, of like trying to figure out, drawing the triangle, like just saying, oh, it's probably this, and then drawing that, versus instead of like waiting a bit longer, making sure you knew it was a triangle, and then drawing it once you were like completely certain.
Yeah, I do like to be certain, that's for sure. I'm not much of a risk taker. And
Oh.
Justin is saying motivation and keep going is the key. I think that is true. I am very persistent. I rarely give up on a task in something like this anyway. Maybe if it's something much more complicated, but I typically will eventually get to where I'm going, but I do say take some side streets along the way. So that's for sure.
Yeah, which actually brings me to something else. It's not a cognitive function, but it's like before the cognitive functions, what we call it's the growth mindset. Actually comes from Carol Dweck. If you ever read her book called Mindset, she says there's two types of mindset. There's a growth mindset and there's a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset is when you don't like to make mistakes, when you don't like to try new things, when you are stuck. This is the way I am. This is how smart I am. This is what my talent is. This is what I'm able to do. And a growth mindset is when you're willing to try something new, to go and figure it out. When someone gives you criticism, then you're like, no, I want to learn from that. And I'm going to do this even though it's hard. So some people with growth mindsets are the one that are actually going to be successful, because that gives them the motivation, that gives them to keep on going, because they realize it's okay if I make a mistake. I'm learning from here so I could continue figuring this out.
So I'm a mixture of that. I've made much progress throughout the course of my life. I would say that I do have a growth mindset, and I'm always looking to evolve and move forward, but I do sometimes can regress. So I think that it's really a work in progress for me. So I recognize some of my limitations, but I've also overcome some of them, or I'll say some of them are in remission, but they can creep back up certainly over the course of time.
Yeah, and I think personally, like from my point of view, I think most people have certain things that have a really good growth mindset in, things that they're really confident in, things that talents that they use really often, and things that they have fixed mindset in. Like they think they can't draw, and they just have like a fixed mindset in this, like I can't draw. But like, yeah, I could sing, and they have a growth mindset in that.
Great. So how would we use this to improve our productivity? I mean, when you're saying, so I have those limitations and I'm aware of them, but after,
You
let's say
don't
we did this.
focus on them. Usually I won't tell them to you.
So what would you do after watching this? You recognize my limitations and or assess them, or you have some idea that those are my limitations. How would you work with a client to help them overcome that? What would be the next step from your side of the aisle if you and I were working together and we just went through this exercise?
Yes. So what we would do is we would choose our strategy from that day to actually go and bridge it, to implement it in every single other area of your life. Because honestly, I don't care about these dots. 20 years time, these dots are not going to matter. I care that your brain is wired in the best way possible for you. So we're going to go and talk about, let's say, for example, now here, analyzing the model. Where else in your life do you think analyzing the model could help you? How could it help a person in general? We could come up with a life principle that will really make it super clear for us and motivate us. We'll attach emotion to it, what it does for us when we analyze the model, and then we'll want to do it. And then I'm going to go and send you home and tell you to find 2 places where you go and analyze the model. So you start really practicing, analyzing the model. Now, next time you come here, what I would do is right away with you before we start the paper is analyze the model. So you don't start doing the frames and then afterwards get stuck. You'll know right away in the beginning, here's my model. Let's analyze it. So maybe you could try here. Where else in your life could you analyze a model?
I think professionally, there are opportunities for me to analyze a model. You know, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm trying to get one of my businesses off the ground. And you know, I think it was something that I struggle with, and that that I'd really like to alter in my life, is that I don't have a lot of balance. I am hyper focused on one thing at a time. And whereas, so things suffer, some other things in my life suffer. I could be focused on a relationship or a business or exercise or something. And I think that I'd love to be able to really learn the model and conquer the concept of balance in my life. And I admire people who have who have achieved that, because I think it's so vital to our health and vitality.
That's a really, really good one, and a really big one that
Mhm.
will need a lot of strategies, which will happen over time. But right away for you to start, I would say, is find that person that you think really has that balance, and don't just admire them, more than admire them, analyze them, figure out exactly how they're doing them, watch them, you could ask them, and then see. Obviously you don't want to copy them exactly, you want to still be you, but see which one of those things can you pull into your life and copy it into your life to make it have more of that balance.
Agreed. I love that strategy. Uh, and Justin is saying, figure out what makes them tick. So you're right. You're right, Justin. What does make them tick? And I think that part of that, and I think and you can weigh in, and I'm also in some respects a reformed, I will say, perfectionist. And I think perfectionism is also what happens. Like sometimes, and I'm not as hyper focused on that as I used to be, but I think that, you like to do things right. And I think that you were speaking about that in the beginning, that, a fixed mindset are people who don't just understand that every endeavor takes risks, and you have to do a risk assessment and see what is worth the risk to make progress, because there is no such thing as perfection. So to try to aspire to that really is a waste of time and counterproductive for sure.
Yeah, and it actually reminds me, because one of our strategies that we talk about is being precise, because we need to be accurate. If you just draw your lines sloppy and you don't draw them carefully, then it's going to be much harder for you, especially in the more complicating shapes, to really be able to go and find them. So what's super cool about this is that sometimes you'll learn strategies that contradict each other. And the point isn't to go and make you into a robot to just go and follow these things. The point is for your brain to have more strategies, to have more tools, to be able to say, okay, in this situation, what is the best thing possible? Do I need to be more precise? Not perfectionist, but more accurate? Or do I need to relax a bit and realize here, it doesn't matter so much, and be flexible about the situation?
Yeah, that's a great tool. And I think learning the difference but it's very difficult. I think, especially and I, and I don't know how many people are aware of this, but, because I'm a mindset geek myself, that, perfectionism and procrastination are so closely aligned. So, they really are. I always call them, kissing cousins, because
I like that.
uh, procrastination and perfectionism are typically symptomatic of people who are high achievers, and they derail. If I can't do something perfectly, why do it at all? So I'm going to put it off, and it becomes a never-ending cycle. And so I think that if you're someone who procrastinates, and you're most likely someone who also is a perfectionist, and you really have to take a look at both sides of the coin. And whereas perfectionism makes you feel good, when you procrastinate, it makes you feel bad. And it's just so cyclical. And I recognize that in my own life. And I didn't recognize it until someone pointed it out to me, or I don't know if someone pointed it out to me, if I read about it and I read how closely aligned those two concepts are. But I don't think that most people really recognize that. And I think it's something to be aware of.
Yeah, that is a very big one. I will add, sometimes procrastination comes from the lack of overwhelm, not knowing what to do. So that's why I find it's one of two. Either they don't know what to do, or they know what to do, but they need it to be perfect, and so it's not going to think. But like we said, that's why it starts with that growth mindset.
Right.
Really,
And
really getting out
Justin
of that.
Swain, and he said you need to have a happy mindset. And that's true. I mean, I don't think that we can always all be happy every moment of the day, but I think if you do your best to live in the present moment, I think that that's instrumental too. Is you're not lamenting about your past or trying to relive your past or wishing away your future or worrying about your future. If you just try to live where you are in the present day. But of course, that's difficult too,
Yeah, and
especially.
honestly, you
Right.
don't want to be happy all the time. Like sadness, anger, they're signs for us. Their emotions aren't good or bad. They just tell us about something. And imagine if we were happy all the time, we would never appreciate being happy. So yes, we want most of the time to be joyful and glad and full of gratitude. But we also want to experience all the emotions in the right quantities, in the right amounts, with the right tools to be able to go and deal with them and process them. But not like only always be happy, because that's impossible and not going to do you any good.
It's like I always say that it's like having I've had both of these scenarios in my life. It's, I lived on a lake, and in the beginning it's great, but you take it for granted. It's the same as when I retire. My goal and my ambition is to retire in a home by the ocean. But then I wonder myself, am I going to appreciate it less because I see it every day? And the likelihood is, well, I hope I don't. But it's a possibility for sure.
Yeah. Like
All right,
everything else. So
so the hour's flown by. We're already into the last
oh
the last
God, wow.
10 minutes. And Justin is saying he's affirming goals. I need to live on a beach. You're right, Justin. That is my goal. That's for sure. So what do you advise? What are some tips and strategies for people? Well, first of all, and then let's tell the viewers how they can reach out to you if they would like to give your practice a try and give these strategies an opportunity and see how they work in their lives. Let's start there.
Yeah, so actually, we do this in groups, and we are starting another group in like 3 weeks. Registration's opening for it next week. So if you would want to get into this, because we don't open them every couple of months, go to lifepixuniversity.com/your brain rewired. So that's lifepixuniversity.com/your brain rewired. And you will find
That in the
all the
comments.
information right there.
I'm gonna get my keyboard back out. So it's LifePix, LIF.
PIX
Mhm.
university.com
Okay.
//
Mhm.
your brain rewired.
Okay, great. So we'll put that in the comments. Perfect.
There we go. Yeah.
And you can reach out to that. And then, so how long is the program?
The program is a 90-day program where we meet twice a week live. We're doing these things just like you did now. We're having discussions. We're figuring out what's going on in your life and how you could implement these strategies. And then in between every session, you get brain challenges and like reminders to help you go and really implement these strategies, because the more you focus on it now, it's hard work because your brain is not wired this way. But after you do it for a certain amount of time, you don't even have to think about it anymore, and it just happens. So really, really try to help you get it in your brain and wire your brain in the most efficient, fast way possible.
And how many people are in a group?
And a group is about 6.
6. Okay. And then do
That
they
would-
work? Do they work together, or in like, you break out into breakout sessions and everybody's helping themselves achieve their goals and ambitions and learn from one another, I assume?
Yeah, so it depends what it is. Part of the time when everyone's just doing the papers by themselves, we're just like quiet and everyone's just working on the papers. Obviously, if you need help, then I'll go and help you specifically, no problem, just like asking you questions and then we all learn from it. But the discussions, we have discussions together. Sometimes I do break you out into breakout rooms. Like, let's say once we spoke about analyzing the model, maybe next time I might break you out into breakout rooms and you'll analyze the next shapes model with your partners. So that way we could come back and discuss it and see how that was. So we try to mix it up and have some fun.
All right, perfect. Well, we certainly had some fun here tonight. And I want to remind the viewers that ST was on point with many of the things she said about me. I might have to go off camera and start and cry myself to sleep tonight. She called me right out.
No, you've got a growth mindset. I know that it's good for you. I know that you know it's good for you.
It is good for me. And it really made me think about things from a different perspective, certainly. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Justin, for all of your comments. And Justin will probably reach out to me offline to get some more information. You say, I'm just teasing Justin. Justin's saying it was harsh. But it really wasn't. He typically agrees with me, whatever I say. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay. So he needs to get his own voice.
He needs to get his own voice. So he's probably just teasing too. But of course, I want to thank you, ST. Do you have any closing remarks before we close it off?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. This was super, super fun to never just like jump in like that with someone. But yeah, I think that from here, what people could really, really take the most from here would be if they start thinking about choosing that growth mindset, because it will really affect all the areas, not just these one dots, but it will help you at work. It will help you with your relationships. It will help you at home and everything else that you're doing. So see how else you could embrace the challenge and the criticism and learn from it instead.
Perfect. And I'm going to tell you that I know Justin very well, and you pinpoint it, and even he's agreeing he needs to get his own voice. So, and he said this will be very helpful. So you're right, Justin. It is very helpful. And of course, I always close the show the same way. I always thank the viewers for tuning in, and make sure you reach out to ST for some additional guidance. And of course, my main man behind the scenes, Chris, the producer, can never do a show without him. So thank you, Chris, and you can play us out. I appreciate it. See everybody next week. So thanks very much.
Thank you.